Awesome. All right, you guys fired up? Man, isn't it nice to be back around people? Yeah, I'm so excited right now. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. For many of you guys, you guys have come in at the best time that you could possibly come in to our business. And I always talk to people about the fact that any business, even each one of our own businesses in a smaller way, starts where you're unknown, nobody knows who you are. That's the first phase. Then it goes into this phase where you start to get a little bit of traction, right? And then you go into this phase where you start to have a little bit of a social acceptance to what you do. Now they all look the same, and they all go for years. And then all of a sudden, you have this period of time called popular and explosive growth, where you just have a straight up vertical expansion, and then you hit a plateau. Guys, I'm telling you right now, WFG has not even begun to go into the popular and explosive growth phase. I was talking to Jeff last night, blew my mind of where this company is going. I would tell you this, Fradel is flipping out right now because of how good we have it, but how good it's about to get for a whole bunch of people that are willing to stick it out and do the work to make this company better. Okay? If you're willing to do that, there are massive rewards on the other side of that work for you. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope that you're willing to roll up your sleeves and go to work and get the job done, because it is going to get awesome. But you know what? It didn't always start that way. And I'll tell you this. I remember that event, where Fradel showed, like she was asking Greg Pat for mentorship. Did you know that was my first big event? I was sitting 2 tables back from the stage right there, watching her get that sword, watching her go across the stage. You know how many people had it with me at that event? 0. We had 0 people. You know what awards I got? I got 0 awards. I didn't even get a rising star. And I've been in the business for probably about 6 weeks at that point, right? And so I went in there and I was like, I gotta get some of those awards too. What did she do? And how does this thing work? And why have I not? Well, how come no one's challenging me? Isn't it funny? It's like there's probably a whole bunch of you guys that are sitting there going, no one's challenging me. No one's telling me what to do next. You know what? Go find the biggest people in this room and say, hey, what do I got to do? Like what she was saying, get some quality instruction right now and then execute, and then you'll have the right to earn that mentorship. But when I came into the business, we sound polished. We sound like we're like we know what we're talking about, and everything's all smooth and wonderful. But when I came into the business, a buddy of mine, we went to a Dodger game, and at that Dodger game, I had gotten at my work. I worked in an advertising agency, and my boss, he says, you've been doing a really good job. You worked on the movie. Did you guys see the movie Troy? Do you remember that movie Troy? Well, that was one of my projects. And he said, you did a great job on the movie Troy. You made the company $100,000 net profit, right? So he says, we want to give you a bonus. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, thanks. What's my bonus? He handed me a check, and it was a check for $1,000. So I got a 1% bonus. By the way, I got a text message from Susan Davies going, hey, congratulations, you got a $25,000 bonus this week. I was like, what? That's awesome, right? I mean, I knew it was coming because I know this stuff, right? But anyway, that just came out of the blue. My boss, gave me a $1,000 bonus. And I was like, dude, I think you're missing a zero or two. Like, I'm not really sure what's going on here. And then he says, you know what? He goes, we appreciate you. We're going to go ahead and give you 2 days off anytime you want this year. 2 personal days. Dude, I've been working here for 3 years and I've never taken a vacation. I work 100 hours a week. Like, what? I just throw them on the pile. Because you know what? Go check your office. We got you something else. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I'm probably gonna walk in my desk and there's gonna be like the keys to a Mercedes S-Class, or a big pile of gold, or a big stack of cash or something like that, right? And I go in there and I was like, you guys moved my furniture around. He goes, no, look what we got you. And I was like, no. He goes, yeah. He goes, we got you a couch so you can sleep when you're working graveyard shift. You can sleep in your office. You don't even need to go anywhere, right? And I was like, dude, that's bad. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I can tell by the look goes, so we got you one more thing. I was like, okay, this has been a big joke. This is a new reality show, right? So it was like, mess with your employees day or something. I'm punked or something like that, right? And and he hands me the envelope, and I open it up, and it's 2 tickets to a Dodger game, and they were bad seats, right? They were, if you guys know, I'm in Dodger Stadium. It's like in the outfield pavilion, right? And so it's like it's very bad. I mean, the tickets. Just to give you an idea, it said Albertsons $6. So these were the supermarket seats that the kids sell for fundraisers, right? He didn't want to actually take his own grandson to it, right? So I sat there and I was like, this is just awful, right? And so he wound up, I took those seats, but here's the deal. Those seats, those Dodger tickets, wound up paying me millions and millions and millions of dollars. Because I called up my buddy and I said, hey, Woody, I know you're a Dodger fan. Let's go to the game. And he goes, okay. He goes, pop by my house. He goes, I live near Dodger Stadium. He goes, I'll drive. He goes, but you're gonna buy me dinner. I was like, bro, I got the tickets. You're supposed to buy me dinner, right? Let me tell you this. I have been buying that dude dinner every time we get together for 20 years because of that day, right? And so we sat there and at the game, 2 hours on the way to Dodger Stadium, 3 hours during the game, and 2 hours in the parking lot waiting to get out, 7 hours. What did he do? He just data dumped on me about WFG. He's like, dude, there's this thing, and it's called life insurance. And I was like, I never heard of life insurance. What's life insurance? He goes, you put in like $30, and if you die, your family gets like $1 million. I was like, that can't be right. He goes, dude, check out my book. And he handed me the state of California insurance code, and had me reading state of California insurance code. I was like, dude, this sounds awesome, right? This is amazing, because you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, right? So a 7-hour invite later, 7 hours to invite me to the meeting, right? And I go in, and so that's on a Wednesday night. Friday morning, he goes, you're coming to the meeting, and I said, all right, fine. Friday morning, I get a phone call, ring, ring. Hi, this is Michael Colmen. I said, yes. She goes, hi, this is Jamie Villalobos, and I just wanted to confirm you for our corporate overview event tomorrow. Would you like to have 1 seat reserved or 2? And I was like, it's just me, dude. It's fine, right? And she's like, and just to make sure you need to dress sharp, right? You need to dress to impress. Here's my number if you need anything. See me as soon as you get here. And I was like, all right, whatever, lady. That's fine. I'll see you tomorrow, whatever, right? And by the way, Jamie has 2 voices. You just heard the nice phone voice. Then there's the other voice when she's calling her SMBs, and I know which one. If it's like, hey, I'm like, okay, she's in a good mood. If I get Colmen, I'm like, oh crap, what did I do now, right? So I get up, and so Saturday morning, my head pops off the pillow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to that stupid financial thing that Woody told me to go to, and I don't want to go, but I promised that lady that I was gonna go, and I guess I'll go, right? So I get up and I run around, and by the way, I work in advertising. So what's the dress code in advertising, right? It's like jeans and t-shirts, and my least wrinkly pair of shorts was like what I would wear to work every day, right? So I get up and I have to find some clothes. So I found this old pair of Dockers, right? Khaki Dockers at the bottom of a Trader Joe's shopping bag that had been in the trunk of my car for 2 years, right? So I take those suckers out and I shake them out, and they go right back into this little ball. I shake them out again, right back into the ball, right? So then I'm like, okay, I don't know how to iron anything. But it was on TV late at night, infomercials, the power of steam. The steam wand. Remember the steam wand on the infomercials? So I thought, the steam wand. Steam. So I'm gonna hang up my pants, jump in the shower. When I jump out, the power of steam will work because I saw it on TV. My pants are gonna be good, right? So I get the pants and I put them up there. I get out of the shower. I want to get all steamy in there. So now I'm sweating. The shower didn't even work, right? Because now I'm all sweaty, right? So I get out, and were the pants wrinkle-free and ready to rock? No, they were still and just slightly damp. So it was like this damp ball of cotton on the back of the door, right? So I put these on. Do you know how I ironed my pants my first BPM? I put my hands in the sink, and I walked around my apartment like this, ironing my pants, right? That's my first ever meeting. And so I come, my shirt, you know that section of your closet where you have like nothing over, like you never go back there? That's where I grabbed my dress shirt, because I didn't have a dress shirt. And it was like this sort of like linen see-through 90s club shirt, with like the little, like the mother of pearl button covers, the little tiny, like frickin' collars, So I'm like, dude, and the sleeves were all big like this, like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, And so I put this shirt on, I got a surf shirt, I tuck it in, I'm like, oh, can you? Looking good, right? I didn't have dress shoes, so what did I do? I took a chisel tip Marks a Lot, and Chuck Taylor basketball shoes? I colored in the white walls of my basketball shoes so that they would look like dress shoes, right? So this is how I roll into the meeting. I don't know how to tie a tie. And Woody's 6'5". I am not 6'5". And 6'5" dudes, right? This is where I tie my tie. 6'5" dudes tie their tie here. So he ties my tie in the parking lot and it's all the way down here. So I walk into the room, right? And I'm like, and everyone in WFG is so nice. Fredo's up there, she's like, hey, how are you? And someone else comes up to me and it's like, hey, nice to meet you. And I was like, oh, these people are so nice. This is incredible. And then all of a sudden I feel these laser beams on the back of my neck and I'm like, there's this 12-year-old little girl standing in the back and she's like, looks like this, right? And she points at Woody and goes, come here, right? Woody's 6'5" and he's got like his neck's all messed up, so he walks like Walking Dead, like this, right? And then Jamie Villalobos starts yelling at him. And he's like this, he goes. So then he walks back over to me and he goes, dude, I gotta kick you out. I gotta kick you out of the meeting. I was like, what do you mean you gotta kick me out of the meeting? It's like, I thought I was like, everyone said I look nice and everything. And he goes, yeah, that lady in the corner, she like runs the whole deal. And she said we're not allowed to invite homeless people to the meeting. No joke. That was my first BPM. I got kicked out of my first meeting in WFG. So then he goes, come with me. We walk out and he goes, check this out. He goes, if we cut right, that's the parking lot. We're gonna cut left. I'm gonna stick you in the room by yourself. Okay, so you're gonna sit in the room. 2003, do we have smartphones? Could I Candy Crush it? Could I like surf around on YouTube? Couldn't do that. So I sat in a room by myself for 20 minutes. No Mozone, right? I was like, what the heck is going on here, right? I read all the posters on the walls like 90 times, right? But this thing starts, and then I gotta tell you this right now. I saw it, and I was like, holy crap. I think these guys are gonna be the next Amazon of the financial industry. I'm not taking your call. Like, what I'm talking about. I was like, these guys are doing something I've never seen before. And it's got the heart of a startup, but the backing of a giant, and incredible vision. And I sat back and said, I don't get it, but I think I get it, right? And I was like, I'm gonna do this thing, and I signed up that day, and and it was awesome. And one of the things those file folders with all the multicolored, stickers on them and stuff like that. That's what I thought I was going to. I was just going to go to a dentist's office. But here's what happened. I walked into this, I was parked in the parking lot, right? And I see the security guard walking around the parking lot. And I was like, hey man, where's this dentist office? And he goes, just go in that door right there. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna walk in the office building, go up to like a suite and walk into like a little tiny suite or something like that, right? I walk into the dentist office and I open up the door. I remember this little family was walking. I'm just like, oh, here we go, little family, right? And so I walk in and boom, I was shocked. This whole room, probably about as big as this room, was filled with chairs. There was a giant reception desk. There were all these kids running around. There were all these families, right? These kids, those little wire things with the blocks on them. There's like 10 of those on the ground. The kids are all like playing with them. They're throwing, like literally this place was filled with families, right? And I was like, this is the craziest dentist office I've ever seen in my life. There were like guys in white lab coats running back and forth. There were these other dudes in like in smocks, flowery smocks. And I stopped one lady and I was like, hey, where's the dentist? And she goes, oh, 4th floor at the back corner down the hall is the doctor that you're looking for. And I was like, she goes, oh, you're the advertising guy? I was like, yeah, how did she know? She's like, we knew. I was like, the heck was that about, right? So you know what? I go up the 2nd floor, and you know what the 2nd floor was? Operating rooms. So all these dentists down the hallway, they were running back and forth in and out of doors. I looked down that hallway, it was like a cartoon. You know that cartoon where it's like someone's running and then someone else is running out the door? It looked like the same dude running through the doors. They were all in white lab coats, right? Then I go up to the 3rd floor and they had an in-house lab where they made the dentures and the teeth and the whatever, for their lab and whatnot. I go up to the 4th floor and it's all billing. And it's all like, it's like billing and sales and it's real quiet and everyone's dressed in like, just sort of business casual. I go knock on the door at the end of the hall and I walk in and there's this little tiny dude. He's about 80 years old and he's got this crisp white lab coat on. And he goes, oh, hey, nice to meet you, come on in. You know what he's holding in his hand? A golf putter. And there's all these golf balls all over his floor of his office. And I walk in and I shake his hand. I said, man, this is quite an operation that you got going here. He goes, yeah, come on in, have a seat. So I sit down. I said, let me ask you some questions so I can get to know you. And I said, my first question on our little survey, our little discovery checklist or whatever, our little analysis, was tell me about your business and your business model. So tell me about your business model. And he looks at me and he goes, well, this is what he told me. He goes, I'm a recruiter. And I was like, what? I thought you were a dentist. He goes, no, and remember, this is before WFG. He goes, I'm a recruiter. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're a recruiter. I said, I thought you were a dentist. He goes, maybe I misunderstood the question. You didn't ask me what we do. You asked me about my model. And I was like, now, I said, sir, I'm very confused. I don't know what you're talking about, right? And he goes, listen. He goes, let me ask you a question. I said, what's that? He goes, when a kid graduates from dental school, it's like, are they ready to go out and open their own practice? He goes, do you think they know anything about human resources? And I was like, probably not. Do they know anything about advertising, marketing, client acquisition, customer service? He goes, do you think they know about any of that stuff? I was like, probably not. He goes, that's right. So he goes, I spend 2 months a year going all around the top dental schools and I recruit all the young guys that are coming out of dental school. And I was like, seriously? He goes, yep. And he goes, they come and work for me for 2 years on my program. He goes, you know how much I pay them? He looks at me, he goes, you know how much? I said, I don't know, like $150,000 or something like that. I think that's what dentists make. He goes, nothing! I was like, what? He goes, yeah, they come work for me for 2 years. They learn how to build a practice. They learn how to get clients. And then I can send them anywhere and they can take those skills and become successful dentists in their own right. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And I said, let me ask you a question. I said, when was the last time you picked up a set of dental instruments? He looks at me and he goes, man, let me think about it. 11 years. I have not been inside someone's mouth for 11 years. And I was like, what do you do all day? I was like, can you tell me, what's your life like? He goes, well, when I'm in the country. I was like, we're in the country? Where else would you be? He goes, oh, we have a castle in the south of France that we spend about 2 months a year in. But when I'm here That's my work day as it's done. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I said, what do you do for the rest of the week? He goes, well, I usually get up. He goes, you know those big houses? You know the Rose Bowl? You guys know where the Rose Bowl is? Yeah. He goes, the big house looking down on the Rose Bowl. He goes, the one way at the top, that's my house. He goes, so I usually drive down, have breakfast at Brookside, which is the golf course down there, play the back nine, and then go hang out with my grandkids. He goes, recruiting is a really good business. And it's stuck in my head. You know, and I started thinking, I should find something to recruit to. And then I read a book called Moneyball, which is about recruiting and taking undervalued talent and repurposing them into something that they can fulfill their life. And I said, I should get into some sort of recruiting business. Then I read The Millionaire Next Door, and I was like, man, I should get into a recruiting business in money. And then all of a sudden, my boss gave me those 2 Dodger tickets, and my entire life changed. Does that make sense? I was built for this thing. You probably were too, but you're talking yourself out of it. Does that make sense? You know you could do big things here, but you start going, I'm not sure, I should go back to my job. And those thoughts crossed my mind as well. I said, man, I'm having too much fun. You know, and so that's why when I tell you, you gotta flush everything from your mind except recruiting and building, you really do. Are you here to dig around and get in someone's teeth for years and years and not have any fun and not have the castle and do all that kind of stuff? Or are you here to do big things in the distribution of financial services? That is entirely up to you. I am here to drive huge amounts of distribution, okay? So let's keep going. This is what I look for when I recruit. Okay, I got 15 minutes left. The 4 qualities of potential recruits, right? Number 1 is that they have to have reasonably decent communication skills. This doesn't mean that they're like, incredible orators and they can like get up here, and argue with the best of them and whatever. I just want to make sure that they can get a concept and kind of convey it, tell a little, maybe tell me your background. Hey, where are you from? What's your background? Tell me a little bit about yourself. If they can string a few sentences together, I can teach them our words. Okay? The next thing that I'm looking for is they're positive and uplifting. You ever get people that walk into your life and they just creep you out? They're just like, oh man, this guy's just weird, right? I'll give those guys the benefit of the doubt, and I was like, maybe I just got him on a bad day or something like that. But after a while, I'm like, man, I just don't want you in my business, man. You just kind of mess it up for everybody else, right? But how do they make you feel? When you first impression meet somebody, do you get this positive feeling from them? Or you go, oh, this is gonna be a project? You know what? More than likely, it is. And some of you guys are just like, I'm gonna sign up everybody. You wanna know why you have great leaders? Because I've tuned my mind to find great leaders. You have to start thinking. I'm looking for leaders. I'm looking for people that can get the job done. Okay? That's the 3rd thing there. Track record of success. Track record of success. What have they done? Tell me of the accomplishment you're most proud of in your life so far. Oh man, I've never really done anything. Yikes. They go, well, even if it was something as like, hey, you know what? I took 2nd place, in the ice skating finals when I was 9. I was like, you know what? You know how to be a champion. Maybe that muscle may be rusty, right? It may be a little atrophied, but we'll start working you out, right? Okay? But did they win in something? See, a winner knows how to win. Sometimes they just need to be reminded, okay? But then, are they teachable and coachable? Meaning, do they have a desire to learn and grow? So you can talk about market all day long. You can talk about all that kind of stuff, 8-pointers and all that kind of stuff. But this here is what I'm looking for, okay? Now, here's what I want to tell you. Isn't it true that either all 4 of those things are present or none of them are present? You can't have someone who's a great communicator and has no desire to learn and grow. Then they don't like being positive and uplifting, right? You can't have someone that has a tremendous track record of success weeks or months later, they go, I don't know. I don't want this guy in my business, right? Like I said, give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But when you find someone that excels in those 4 areas, now you have someone to lock onto, right? Do you think Cash Rastan had all those things? Absolutely, right? His communication skills needed a little bit of work at the beginning. I remember a story. He goes to his assistant. He goes, doors. And she's like, yeah, what do you need, Cash? She goes, I need all these apps. I need all these applications sent to Caesar's Palace. Get all these apps to Caesar's Palace immediately. And she's like, Caesar's Palace? He's like, Caesar's Palace immediately. And she goes, you mean Cedar Rapids? That's the one, right? True story. So he needed a little bit of work, but he was willing to learn and grow, right? So anyway, so that's who you gotta recruit, okay? So let's look, elevator pitch. Kyle did a great job on this morning. I'm just putting some meat on the bones here, okay? Think about a doctor at a party. How is a doctor at a party when they show up? Isn't it funny, a doctor or chiropractor, they show up to a party, doesn't everyone have an ailment all of a sudden? Oh, doc, you gotta check me out, my neck's all messed up. You know, doc, I got this thing that's growing on my elbow, I don't know what it is, you gotta check me out, right? And so what happens is, what do you like people chasing you like that at a party? How is it when you walk into a party, it's like, oh, here's the MLM guy. Go over here and try and avoid him. You know, it's like you farted in the party. There's like a bubble that's following you around. Nobody wants to talk to you, right? So when I come in, the formula is, you know how. What I do is, or what we do is, so that you pick what's their occupation, or one of the 6 steps of the needs analysis, and I'll show you how this goes. Someone's a teacher. Oh my gosh, you're a teacher. Like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a teacher. Oh, you're a teacher? Oh, what a coincidence. What are they going to say? Why? What do you do? Are you a teacher too? No, I work with teachers. I actually coach teachers. I work with them. Oh, what do you mean you work with teachers? Well, you know how teachers, they spend 10 months training and teaching other people's kids and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes it's not very thankful. It's kind of a thankless job, and they don't make very much money. You know how that is? You know how that is? And they go, yeah. I say, well, what I do is I take teachers and I help them repurpose those skills during the summer months so that they can double or even triple their income to be able to replace their current income and be able to have a chance for financial freedom. What about a truck driver, you know? You know how? Oh, you're a truck driver? Well, I coach truck drivers. What do you mean you coach truck drivers? Well, you know how truck drivers, they're driving back and forth across the country, thankless work, hours, back goes out. You know, they never get to spend time with their families. What I do is I show them how to pull equity out of their employment and put it on the side, right? And create a second parallel income source. Or a teacher, they're after you at the party. Hey, you know what's the thing you do? I want to talk to you. Let's get together. By the way, my dad is the one that taught this to me. Papa, that's my dad that taught this to me, right? He passed away, but this is the gift that he gives to you, right? And so you look at real estate. Now, what happens if you don't know what they do? So they come up to you and say, hey, what do you do? Well, you know how most families are in debt? You know how most families are in debt today? You know how that is? Well, what I do is my company, we take an educational approach to debt elimination so that they, as families, can actually eliminate their debt and move their money into their savings. This formula puts you in a position where you are empowered instead of being on the defense. If someone comes and says, what do? You know what you're doing? You're reaching back on the shelf of answers going, financial planner, builder, I sell the dream. And all they're hearing is like, MLM, weird dude, right? Because you're not tailoring your message immediately to them. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so there's your formula, okay? So let's see, next slide. Because now I've got 8 minutes. Is it working? Next slide. There it goes. Okay, so my job today is I want to upgrade this team. It's the best way that I can give back to Jeff and to Greg is to be able to upgrade this What if we could 10x the size of this team, 50x the size of this team, 100x the size of this team, right? If I can have some influence over that, you bet I'm gonna do it. You know why? Because if I can make this group better, even though I don't override a whole bunch of you guys, then you know what happens? The company gets bigger and the opportunity gets better, and that makes my job easier, okay? So, if someone says to you, well, I don't know, you know, I don't have the time, I can't really, what I usually tell people is they say, well, you know, I'm just gonna keep my job, or I'm gonna do something else, or whatever. I don't take no for an answer. You know what I tell them? I say, listen, there's two types of personalities. One of them is called the and personality, and one of them is called the or personality, okay? The or personality says, I'd like to send my kids to the best of schools, or I'd like to have a nice vacation, or I'd like to live in a nice neighborhood, or I'd like to be able to have, you know, a nice car. And they have all of their goals, and they pick the one, and they forego all the other ones. The and personality says, I want to have my kids go to the best schools, and I want the best house, and I want the cool car, and I want freedom, and I want time freedom, and I want to be able to live life on my terms. And they go, what's the work required? Okay? And I say, so, from what I'm hearing now, do you feel like you more resonate with being an or personality or an and personality? Do you want to do both? Do you want to have it all? Or do you want to just pick from the very limited, right, cheap appetizer menu of life? Right? You want to just have a couple appetizers? Or do you want to have one of everything on there? It's up to you. You know you have the ability to do so. You just limit yourself, right? So, my wife is the best example of this. Why? Because I had to plan an event like this. My very first event ever, I was with Dana Lagatuda. And I said, Dana, we should do an event, right? And she goes, okay, let's do it. This is 2008, okay? Now, I was slated to be married on August 8th, 2008. My wife was like, 8808, 8808, it's 8th, they're lucky, numerology is awesome, it's gonna be fantastic. And I said, 8808, rolls off the tongue, it's super nice. So Dana and I said, let's plan our first event. She goes, hey, what about August 15th? And I said that to Dana, and Dana goes, no, I'm busy. What about August 8th? And I said, yeah, that sounds good. I was like, in my mind, I said, well, I'm getting married on 8/8, but August 8th seems okay. And so here I am, my wife signing contracts over here, Dana's signing contracts over here. These two sides of my mind are not speaking to each other at all, but they're about to meet in the third act, and things were not gonna go well for me. So all of a sudden, my wife, you know, I open up my schedule and I'm doing some planning, and I look and I go, oh no. That's the end mentality. And I'm gonna tell you this right now. He's looking down upon you right now, going, I am so proud of you. Because the same thing happened to me. My dad passed away on BPM day that morning, and I showed up to the meeting, and I gave the best training of my life. Because I said, you know what? He's looking down, and I want him to know that adversity did not get the better of me. I'm never gonna let my dad be the excuse that I wasn't winning at the highest levels. So I'm telling you, thank you. Okay, I got 1 minute left to go, guys, and I have a bunch of stuff. Okay, so 12 positive. So what do I have to do? This is what I call 12 positive somethings. Is that a phone call with a positive outcome, having a guest, an appointment with a needs analysis, a new client, a new recruit, referrals, a new prospect, a new license, a center of influence one where you meet with somebody who's of influence, a new promotion on your team, getting a paycheck, or a convention registration. Are these not good things that happen in our business every day? Did you know that you only have to pick 2 off that menu to do every... I had 2 phone calls where someone said yes to you every day for 30 days. That'll be 60 people that said yes, I'll meet with you. Even if half of them didn't show up and you 10-3 won the other ones, you still got 3 new recruits. You have some guests showing up. What I tell people is you just have to pick 2 of those things. Heck, you have a couple guests show up on Saturday, you go, man, I don't even need to make any phone calls. Like, I'm a 2 positive, something's happened today. You close a sale and get a promotion, you go, man, I can take a day off. I had 2 good things happen in my business. The problem with everybody is you go like 6 days with no anything's happened in your business, and then you get 1 or 2 things, and then nothing, and then 3 things. The thing about how you win here is you're consistently doing it. What if you have 10 or 20 or 30 people doing the same thing on your team? You had 60 positive somethings happening per day. You start doing this. This is how you manage your activity. It's not very much. You know, Monty Holm once said, you can do a little or you can do a lot, but you can't do nothing. Right? You can do a little, you can do a lot, but you can't do nothing. Okay, so last thing, next big event. So I'm gonna teach you, this is important. I'm only gonna take another minute or 2. But here's the thing. Someone says, I don't wanna go to the event. How many of us had people that said they didn't wanna come to the event? Right? I'm gonna teach you how to get them to come to the event. First of all, you just clarify the importance. You go, do you know what the event is? Well, we've got networking, you can meet people, there's training, referrals. You know, I went to one event, I met one dude in Denver, he sent me a referral, and the split sale, I made $13,000, he was an SMD, he also made $13,000 because we met at an event. He said the client wants to meet with me personally, and I said, that's fine, I'll drive over and meet him. And so, do you think that was a good return on investment? I tell that story and I go, wow, so I can meet people and then we can send referrals back and forth. I go, yeah. Usually that alone, they go, man, I'll go to the event. That sounds great. Because business people, think of that. But then they say, oh, you know what? I don't really want to go. But I said, but do you see the importance? And they go, yeah, I see why it's important. I said, great. So the first thing that I need you to do is make a decision that you want to go. This is the conversation you have with your people, right? And they go, yeah, but I got my kids and I got my work and I got this and my money and I can't do this and that. I said, no. I just need you to make the decision. Do you see the importance? Once they say, yes, I see it's important, you know what they just did? They made up their mind that it's important. And isn't it true? There's nothing more powerful than a made up mind. So now, you isolate the concerns. And they say, well, what do you got? Why can't you go? They go, because my kids. And I say, okay, if you didn't have, a problem with your kids, then what would be the other reason? Money. And outside of that, and you keep eliminating until they run out of answers. Well, my job, and this, and that, and I can't get there, and travel, blah, blah, blah. And once they go, I said, is that it? Is there anything else? Any other reasons? They go, nope. I said, great. We're gonna take all those reasons, and we're gonna put it in this imaginary box, and put it on the shelf. Now you have no reasons. I need you to revisit that decision that you made. Now these reasons are gone, but they're right there. I said, no. We're gonna forget about those for 1 second. They don't exist. Do you still wanna go? And they go, yes, you know what, I do wanna go. And I go, great. How are you gonna solve these then? Solve them. You go, well, my cousin can watch the kids. My mom owes me some money, blah, 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 blah. You know what, I can get the time off of work, I can get some. And they solve all their problems, and they come with you to convention. That's how you get people. This is what I taught Cash Rest on. problems for them. He makes them make a decision and figure out the solution. Isn't it true? The solution to every problem that you have is right there if you're willing to look for it. Most people aren't willing to look for it. So you get them to get willing, move them away, they reconfirm the decision, they'll go with your convention. Why am I telling you this? Because Wealth Bowl 2022, baby. Wealth Bowl 2022! We're doing it together! We are doing it together! Okay? So some of you guys that were like, man, okay, she's chapping my eye, right? My butt's burning, right? Well, now you have a chance. Now you have a chance to chase her down if you want to compete, right? There's a whole bunch of you guys that were saying some big talk, Beauvais, right? There's some big talk, Zoe, right? And I'll tell you this right now. You make that decision to get up there, man, it's going to be huge, okay? So if you want to get registered, there you go. You can go to wealthbowl2022.com or go to this link here, and you'll be able to get signed up. And by the way, get multiple tickets. If you're a big player in this thing, put your money where your mouth is. You know, I would usually buy like 20, 30, 50 tickets for an event, right? And so that's what I tell you this right now, is to get as many tickets as you can, and we'll see who's gonna get registered for this event. There's a leaders bulletin on there, so we're gonna see which SMD-based shops are gonna be the top ones. And the last little announcement I have, I'm actually terrified of this last announcement that I'm gonna tell you right now, is I look at the world and I go, I don't like the world the way that it is. But what can I do? You know, it's just me. I'm just like one little person. I did a whole talk on that. Apparently it's on YouTube about the starfish and whatever. And I say, you know what? I think that I have a little bit of wisdom for people outside of WFG to inspire them. And I'm gonna tell funny stories and do some music stuff, you know, because you guys know I'm a musician. And I've got my dream studio that I built down in Florida, so I'm excited about that. But I wanted to do some inspirational things. So I'm building what's called the culmination. And culmination, listen to it. Culmination, you hear that word, culmination? It's the peak, right? It's the apex, the pinnacle, right? It's the top. And so I'm gonna be doing a YouTube channel. I'm not spending any time on it. I have it very, very well organized so that it's gonna be like 30 minutes that I just record, send it over to the production team, and then boom, I'm on with my day, because I'm building this business. I'm gonna give a little bit of goodness into the world on that channel, but I'm here building this business, okay? So you guys can subscribe to that. I appreciate it. I'll interact with you guys. I think that you guys are awesome. I love the legacy. I'm excited to